The ceremony was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, 4 years of relentless work, sleepless nights, and dreams finally coming true. As I walked toward the stage, my heart raced with pride and anticipation. I could hear applause, flashes of cameras, and the excited chatter of classmates. But then, out of nowhere, my sister stood up, pointing at me, and shouted something that made the entire hall freeze. "She cheated," she yelled. The room went silent. Every eye turned to me. My hands trembled, my cheeks burned, and I realized this moment, my moment, was about to spiral into chaos. From the day I got accepted into university, I knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. My sister, Carla, had always been competitive, and she had this sharp tendency to undermine anything I worked for. She excelled in sports, social events, and anything that drew attention, and I often became the shadow she lingered behind. I never minded too much. I was focused, ambitious, and determined to build my own path. University was grueling. I had to juggle classes, part-time work, and research projects. Most nights, I stayed up until 2 or 3 a.m., reading textbooks or drafting assignments. My friends often joked that I had a photographic memory, but it wasn't that simple. I spent hours memorizing, rewriting notes, and practicing problems over and over. I wasn't the type to cheat. Success meant sweat, tears, and persistence, and I prided myself on that. But Carla always found a way to question me. Even when I got an A on a group project, she would whisper to our family, "I think she got help." When our parents praised my achievements, she would glare as if they were denying her something she deserved. I tried to shrug it off, thinking this rivalry was just normal sibling tension. Yet, over time, it became clear she thrived on creating drama, and I, unfortunately, became her target. Leading up to graduation, the tension escalated. Carla had already planned her own post-graduation celebration, but I could sense her eyes tracking me constantly, measuring, comparing, judging. I had ignored her remarks, the subtle digs during family dinners, and the snide comments about my grades. But that day, I felt a strange unease. Something told me she had prepared one final act to embarrass me in front of everyone, and yet I told myself I was overthinking. Graduation was my day, my triumph, and nothing, especially not her jealousy, would ruin it. The morning of graduation, the air was thick with excitement and nerves. I woke early, carefully selecting my outfit, making sure every detail was perfect. My cap and gown felt heavier than usual, almost as if they carried the weight of all those years of hard work. My parents were surprisingly quiet, distracted by last-minute preparations, while Carla's smirk was noticeable the moment I entered the living room. She didn't even pretend to be happy for me. As we arrived at the auditorium, the energy was electrifying. Students were hugging, laughing, taking endless selfies, and parents were eagerly snapping pictures. I could hear the proud voices of professors announcing names and degrees, one by one. It was surreal, the culmination of countless late nights, sacrifices, and dreams finally realized. For a moment, I allowed myself to savor it. Then Carla appeared. She made her way through the crowd, her eyes locking on mine with a sharp intensity that immediately triggered my anxiety. I forced myself to breathe calmly and focus on the ceremony. Maybe she wouldn't make a scene, I thought. Maybe she would sit quietly and let me have my moment. But of course, I was wrong. The moment came when my name was called. My heart leaped, my palms sweated, and I started walking toward the stage. The clapping and cheering from the audience seemed to blur, replaced by the pounding of my own heartbeat. I could see the rows of proud parents, friends, and classmates. Everything seemed normal, until a voice cut through the ambient noise like a knife. "She cheated!" Carla screamed, standing abruptly in the middle of the aisle. The room froze. Every clap halted mid-motion, every conversation evaporated into a heavy silence. I felt every eye turn toward me, a mix of shock, confusion, and curiosity etched on everyone's faces. My body went stiff, my stomach dropped, and for a moment, I couldn't even process what had just happened. "What?" I whispered under my breath, though of course, no one could hear me. My mind raced. Did she really just accuse me of cheating, right here, in front of everyone? The murmurs began, whispers spreading like wildfire through the hall. "Is it true? I thought she worked so hard. Wow, I can't believe she'd do that." I wanted to shrink, disappear, anything to escape the burning eyes of hundreds of people. But I knew I couldn't. Walking back wasn't an option. I had to confront this head-on. So I straightened my shoulders, squared my chin, and started my walk toward the stage. Each step felt like moving through molasses, heavy with tension and shame I didn't deserve. Carla didn't move. She just glared, triumphant, like she had just pulled off the most brilliant trap. I felt anger bubbling, but I forced myself to remain calm. This wasn't about emotion anymore. It was about proof, dignity, and finishing what I had started at graduation. As I got closer, I could see the faces of my professors, some confused, some incredulous, others silently judging. I could see my parents in the front row, my mother's mouth slightly open, my father frowning with a mixture of shock and uncertainty. Carla's accusation had thrown everyone off balance. Wendy, my advisor, finally spoke, his voice steady but tinged with surprise. "Please come forward." I nodded and kept walking. Each step was measured, deliberate, a silent declaration that I wouldn't let her ruin my day. The audience's whispers crescendoed into a tense murmur, a mixture of anticipation and disbelief. The hall seemed to shrink around me, every heartbeat echoing in my ears. I was on stage now, standing at the podium, the microphone inches from my face. I looked out into the audience, meeting eyes, and for the first time, felt the full weight of the accusation. Yet, as fear threatened to overwhelm me, a surge of clarity hit. I hadn't cheated. I had worked, studied, sacrificed. This moment, my moment, was mine, and no one's jealousy or malice could take it away. I took a deep breath, letting the silence settle, giving everyone, including Carla, the pause to realize this wasn't going to be easy. And then, I spoke. My voice was steady, loud enough for every corner of the hall to hear. Accusations don't define truth. Actions do. The audience leaned in, captivated. I could feel Carla bristle at my composure, her smug expression faltering ever so slightly. The stage, the hall, the world, it all seemed to narrow into this one defining moment, and I was ready to face it. The hall was silent, every eye on me, waiting for my response. I felt a strange mixture of anger, humiliation, and determination. Carla's accusation had put me on the defensive, but I refused to let it define me. I could see her smirk fading slightly, her confidence shaken by my calm composure. I took another deep breath and addressed the audience. "Let me be very clear," I began, my voice steady. "I did not cheat. Every grade, every achievement, every recognition I've earned has come from hard work and perseverance. I didn't take shortcuts. I didn't rely on anyone else. I did this myself." A murmur ran through the crowd, some skeptical, some impressed, all curious. The tension in the air was palpable. I could feel Carla's glare burning into me, but I refused to look down. I knew that if I showed fear, she would claim victory. Instead, I held my head high, letting my words carry the weight of truth. Then I shifted the focus, subtly exposing the real reason behind her accusation. "It's unfortunate," I continued, "that some people cannot celebrate the success of others without trying to tarnish it. But life has a way of revealing the truth, even in moments like this." My eyes met Carla's squarely. Accusations without evidence are just that, words. And words don't erase years of dedication. I could see the audience reacting now, nodding, whispering, some even smiling in support. The professors exchanged glances, clearly recognizing the integrity of my statement. The energy in the room began to shift, the tension that Carla had orchestrated was starting to unravel. Carla, sensing the tide turning, attempted to interject. "You don't understand," she started, but the room's attention was firmly on me. I let her words hang in the air, unchallenged, because the silence itself spoke louder than any rebuttal. Her attempt to dominate the moment fell flat. I then took out the proof I had prepared, not out of expectation, but out of necessity. Copies of my graded assignments, professor comments, and project reports were neatly organized in a folder I held discreetly. For those who doubt, this shows the work I've completed over the past 4 years. Each page, each note, each grade earned honestly. No shortcuts, no cheating, just dedication. I handed the folder to my advisor, who nodded approvingly and began to pass it along to the audience. Whispers turned into gasps of realization. People started murmuring supportively. Friends and classmates who had cheered my achievements now looked at me with genuine admiration, clearly understanding the injustice of Carla's actions. Carla's face went pale, her lips pressed tightly together. For the first time, she looked unsure. The power she had tried to wield through humiliation was slipping away. She realized her public accusation had backfired spectacularly. The audience's attention had shifted from her drama to my vindication. I continued, my voice calm but resolute. Graduation is a celebration of accomplishments, perseverance, and growth. It's not a stage for envy or malice. Today, I stand here, not because of anyone else's recognition, but because I earned it. And nothing, no accusation, no jealousy, can take that away from me. By this point, applause had begun to ripple through the hall. It started as small claps, hesitant but growing steadily into a wave of approval. My parents were beaming now, proud beyond words. Even some of Carla's friends looked at her with surprise, silently judging her audacity. I took a final step toward the podium, ready to receive my diploma. As my advisor handed it to me, I looked out at the audience, every face reflecting admiration, support, or awe. Carla sank slightly in her seat, the smirk gone, replaced by a mix of anger and embarrassment. She had tried to humiliate me, but the universe had handed me a moment of poetic justice. The applause was deafening now, cheers filling the hall. I felt a surge of relief, pride, and triumph wash over me. The accusation had failed, my achievements had been honored, and my dignity remained intact. As I walked back to my seat, diploma in hand, the silence that had once crushed me was replaced with admiration and celebration. And in that moment, I realized something vital. Vindication isn't about revenge, it's about standing tall in truth and letting actions, not words, define your worth. Carla's words had aimed to break me, but they only made my triumph shine brighter. After the applause faded and the ceremony continued, I felt a strange mixture of relief and lingering tension. I had survived the public humiliation, vindicated myself, and received my diploma, but the emotional echoes of my sister's outburst were still ringing in my mind. Graduation, the moment I had envisioned for years, had been marred by betrayal. Walking back to my seat, diploma in hand, I noticed the stares. Some classmates whispered words of encouragement, giving small smiles or thumbs-up gestures. Others simply shook their heads in disbelief at Carla's audacity. I couldn't help but feel a surge of validation. My truth had been heard, and for once, the audience recognized it. My parents, seated at the front, were visibly torn between shock and pride. My mother's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, while my father's jaw tightened, perhaps in silent frustration at Carla's behavior. They didn't say much during the ceremony, but their expressions told me everything. They were proud of me and, perhaps for the first time, truly saw how unjust Carla had been. After the ceremony, as families gathered for photos and celebrations, Carla avoided eye contact with me. She hovered on the sidelines, feigning casual interest in conversations but clearly stewing in embarrassment. I didn't approach her immediately. Part of me wanted to confront her, to demand an apology. But another part, the stronger, wiser part, knew that my victory had already spoken louder than any words. As the crowd thinned, my friends gathered around me, showering me with congratulations. "Wendy, you were incredible," one of my closest friends whispered. "I can't believe she tried that in front of everyone." I smiled, grateful for their support. I just walked forward, I admitted, and let the truth speak for itself. Finally, the moment came when my parents approached me. My mother embraced me tightly, whispering, "I'm so proud of you, Wendy. Don't let anyone make you doubt yourself." My father placed a hand on my shoulder, his grip firm and reassuring. "You handled that with grace," he said quietly. "You should be proud, not just of your achievements, but of how you defended them." Later, in the car ride home, the tension between Carla and me was palpable. She refused to speak, staring out the window, while I remained silent, focusing on the pride swelling within me. The moment wasn't about vengeance, it was about recognition. I didn't need to prove anything else. The audience had seen the truth, my family had acknowledged it, and Carla's attempt to humiliate me had failed spectacularly. When we got home, I overheard her murmuring under her breath, "Everyone thinks she's perfect, but she's not." I felt a pang of frustration, but it quickly dissolved into clarity. It wasn't my job to change her perspective. My role was simply to live my truth, and I had done so with dignity. The following days brought a mix of reactions from extended family and friends. Some called to congratulate me, recounting how they had witnessed Carla's outburst and admired how I handled it. Others shared their shock at her behavior. Social media posts from classmates praising my composure and achievements started to circulate, further validating the truth. I realized something important during those days: true vindication isn't about public spectacle. It's about integrity, resilience, and maintaining composure in the face of chaos. Carla had aimed to create embarrassment, but in the end, her actions only highlighted my strength. She had tried to derail my moment, but I had transformed it into a lesson in courage and dignity. Even my relationship with my parents shifted subtly. They seemed to understand me in a new way, not just as their child, but as someone who could navigate challenges with grace and poise. Carla, on the other hand, remained distant, a constant reminder that jealousy and envy can't overpower truth, no matter how loudly they shout. Reflecting on the event, I realized graduation had been more than a ceremony. It had been a test, not of my academic achievements, but of my character. And by facing my sister's accusation head-on, I had proven to myself that integrity, resilience, and confidence are far more powerful than the loudest voice in the room. In the days following graduation, I couldn't help but replay the events in my mind. The public accusation, the stunned silence, and the eventual vindication, all of it felt surreal. I had always imagined graduation as a simple celebration of achievement, not a stage for family drama and sibling rivalry. Yet, through the chaos, I discovered something vital: how we handle adversity reveals far more about our character than the accusations of others ever could. Carla's actions, though painful, became a mirror for me. I saw the power of envy and insecurity, how it can drive people to hurt those they feel threatened by. But I also saw the strength of composure, preparation, and integrity. I realized that success is not just measured by grades or accolades, but by the courage to stand tall when others try to pull you down. The incident also reshaped my perspective on family. My parents, who had been blindsided by Carla's outburst, showed a new level of respect for me. Their pride was no longer just about my accomplishments but about the way I defended myself with dignity. I felt closer to them, not just as a daughter celebrating an academic milestone, but as a person who could navigate challenges with grace. As for Carla, our relationship changed irreversibly. I didn't hate her; resentment would only consume me, but I understood her jealousy and the reasons behind her destructive behavior. I made a conscious decision to protect myself emotionally, setting boundaries that ensured her attempts to undermine me would no longer succeed. For the first time, I realized that sometimes the best form of justice isn't confrontation, but living your life fully, proudly, and honestly. I also noticed how this experience affected my peers. Several classmates came forward privately to share their admiration, not just for my academic success but for how I handled such a public attack. It was humbling, and I realized that integrity resonates more than drama ever could. People remember composure and truth, not the loudest accusation in the room. Looking back, I can see the graduation hall as a turning point. It wasn't merely a day to collect a diploma, it was a day that tested my patience, my courage, and my self-respect. Every step I took toward the stage, every calm word I spoke, and every proof I presented was a declaration that truth cannot be silenced by envy. I carry that lesson with me now, beyond the ceremony, beyond the applause. Life will always have moments where others attempt to diminish your efforts or question your integrity. There will always be people like Carla, eager to assert dominance through false accusations. But what matters is how you respond, whether you let fear dictate your actions or stand firmly, letting your truth shine. Through this experience, I realized that resilience isn't just enduring hardship, it's transforming it into empowerment. My sister tried to steal my moment, but instead, I emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident than ever. Graduation became not just a celebration of academic achievement, but a testament to the power of courage, honesty, and unwavering self-belief. As I reflect on that unforgettable day, one truth stands clear: success is never solely about accolades or recognition. It's about the way you carry yourself when faced with adversity. My sister tried to define me through jealousy, but I chose to define myself through integrity, courage, and perseverance. That moment in the graduation hall wasn't just about proving her wrong, it was about proving to myself that no external voice can diminish the value of years of hard work. Every step I took forward was a statement of resilience. And while that day will forever remain a mixture of tension and triumph, it taught me that standing tall in truth is the ultimate victory.